Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wills, Wealth, and Wisdom podcast. I'm Ouida Jones, and as always, I'm here with my friend, legal advisor, and co host, Cathe Evans Williams.
Hey, hey. We are so glad you're here with us. So each week, we're bringing you practical conversations to help you protect your family, build wealth, and create a legacy with confidence.
Alrighty, and today we're diving into estate planning essentials.
Yes.
If you've ever wondered what documents you need or how to get started, this episode is for you.
All right, because you know why? We're breaking down the core building blocks of an effective estate plan. So we're going to help you understand the tools that protect your wishes and your loved ones.
All right, Cathe, let's get started.
All right, let's go.
All right. So, Cathe, for someone just getting started, what are the absolute essentials when it comes to estate planning documents?
Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying it depends. Right? Like in law school, there is a reasonable man standard, and you always hear it depends, right? But in real life, it does, because not everybody has the same set of factors. So, having said that, let me just generally say a will is something that could allow you to direct your assets, right?
All right.
So, for most people, a will is something to think about, right? Might not be, because you might choose a living trust instead, right? So the living trust also allows you to direct your assets, but it avoids probate.
Got you.
Right? And it also allows you to maintain a level of privacy.
Yeah,
that you
makes
just,
sense.
you don't get that with the will.
That's true.
Also, powers of attorneys. So if you think of estate planning, you have to think of it in two ways. One, what happens to my stuff when I die?
Yeah, my stuff.
And the other is, what happens to me if I'm still here, but I can't handle my own affairs?
Got you. Mental incapacity type thing.
There you go. Okay. Right. So, again, as relates to your stuff, a will, a living trust, maybe a transfer on death instrument.
Got you.
Okay.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
And as it relates to your powers of attorneys, you absolutely need a power of attorney for health care and a power of attorney for property. And sometimes that's also referred to as a medical or a property power of attorney for your financial power of attorney.
Got you.
Okay, and then finally, everyone needs to name beneficiaries on their cash accounts, like their bank accounts, or their life insurance, or their retirement accounts.
Yep.
So those three things, right? One, what am I going to do with my stuff when I pass away? That can be addressed by a will, a trust, or transfer on death instrument. What's going to happen to me if I'm still here and I can't handle my own affairs? That's going to be addressed by a power of attorney for health care and a power of attorney for property. And then something that's free is to name a beneficiary on your life insurance, your retirement accounts, and your financial accounts.
Yeah, those bank accounts, yeah.
I know that was long, right?
But hopefully, I think people understand. I think you broke it down really well. And I think about right now, all these people I know who have parents who are slowly slipping into cognitive decline, dementia. And so it would be really helpful to them if their parents had set up this power of attorney, this healthcare power of attorney.
Yes, I mean both of them.
Yeah,
because
really
that we probably will go into that in a later podcast. But if you don't have a power of attorney for healthcare, for example, and your loved one becomes incapacitated, you are going to have to go to court to get guardianship over them.
Yes.
And you're going to have to report to the court on a regular basis as it relates to what are you doing with their money and how are you taking care of them.
Yes.
And that is not a cheap thing. It's going to cost a lot in time and money. So, you definitely need to make sure that if anybody in your life, not just because they're going through cognitive decline, but anybody who has anything, they need the power of attorney for property.
Yep.
And anybody who's breathing, they need the power of attorney for health care.
That's true.
Okay.
When I got surgery, I signed one to make sure if anything happened during surgery, that someone could take care of whatever needed to be taken care of for me. So I think that's a great idea, and it's really important that we do that. So because a lot of people think a will is enough, and it's great that they at least have that in place.
Right.
But why is it important to have, and you kind of talked about it already, and I just kind of want to emphasize, why is it important to have both a will and those powers of attorneys in place?
Yeah, because again, you just want to think about estate planning. It's two things. What happens to my stuff when I pass away, and what's happening to me if I'm still here and can't handle my own affairs.
There you go.
So a will or the living trust or the land trust or the transfer on death deed will address the assets, but you need something that's going to address the care, your care.
There you go.
That's why it's important.
I think that is clearly stated.
Yay.
Yeah. And people hear about wills and trust, and I hear people talk about trust not being contestable, and I think you said something else about that, and you're going to probably talk about it now. While wills are contestable, that's what people think. Cathe, can you summarize what's the difference between a will and a trust?
Okay, sure. So a will is a document that identifies what you have and who you want to give it to upon your death, right? And it can go through probate.
There you go.
Probably, 50% of the time, if I had to put a percentage. So just because you have a will does not mean you avoid probate.
Right.
Probate is where the court takes a look at your will, determines whether or not it's valid, and will also make you pay a bond in the event there are some issues with your will. In the event that there are no issues with your will and it's clear within that will that you don't have to pay a bond, then you may not have to do that.
Okay, gotcha.
But there's still a process that needs to be followed. And creditors can file a claim.
See, that's what I thought, that creditor thing came into it.
Creditors can file a claim. They can. And they get paid before the heirs or the legatees do. And we've talked before about the differences between heirs and legatees.
Right.
So I won't get into that. But as it relates to a trust, it avoids probate.
There you go. So it's not that it's not uncontestable, it's the probate part, and I think people get that mixed up with the contestability of something, maybe.
Yeah, so probate is an environment where your will can be contested.
Yeah.
Probate is an environment where a trust does not go. So in other words, if you have a trust, you're not going to probate.
There you go.
If it was funded properly.
There you go. We got to add that.
We do have to add that.
Yeah. So I think that's important designation. Okay, all right. Well, that's important information to have and help folks distinguish between those two options.
Yes.
With that info in mind, how do beneficiary designations fit into the bigger estate planning picture? You mentioned that earlier as something we should do.
Yeah, no, so that's great. So if you have an asset where you can name a beneficiary, like a bank account,
Right.
for example, if you name a beneficiary on that bank account, when you pass away, the individual that you've named, all they have to do is go to the bank, have their ID, have your death certificate, and the bank will cut a check to them.
Yeah, there it is.
So it bypasses probate. It bypasses any other form of, legal paperwork, that needs to, or processes that need to be applied.
Great.
So it's a quick way to distribute that asset to your beneficiary.
Okay, very good, very good. Alrighty, so we've talked a little bit about some specific things, but what are the risks? We know a lot of people are from Missouri, and they need to be shown rather than told something, right? You can't, I'm from Missouri, you got to show me. I don't want to talk about that. So we can talk about examples, of celebrities that died without solid or any estate plans, including somebody young like a Tupac Shakur, and then somebody older, like Aretha Franklin. But that still doesn't drive that point home necessarily, right? So, Cathe, what can happen if someone, an everyday Joe or Jane, doesn't have an estate plan?
Man, I mean, let me just say this: the state can get your money.
See, that's simple. That
is, in the event you have an asset and you have not named a beneficiary, you haven't created a plan that will transfer that asset to someone that you want to receive that asset. The person or entity rather that's holding that asset doesn't know what to do with it. So after a certain period of time, they escheat it. ESCHEAT. Y'all look that up.
Cheat. I heard cheat in there. I heard cheat. That's what it sounds like. They cheating us. Taking our stuff.
But so the bank is like, we can't just keep holding this money forever. We don't know who to give it to, so we're giving it to the state.
Yeah, the treasurer.
That is right. You've heard of iCash.
Yes.
That's where it goes, right? And each state has its own form of iCash.
Yep.
And so if you don't have a plan and it's an asset that's held at a bank, for example, they will then give it to the state. And now you're going to have to figure out how to get it. Your family is going to have to figure out how to get it.
Yep.
So that's one of the challenges with not having a plan. Another is, let's say that you have a house And let's say you have 3 children. One of the children, is not really involved in your welfare and you haven't seen them in, 25 years. If you pass away, the house will go to your children equally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's one example. It could go to all 3 in equal shares, and now they all have to figure out what to do with it. Where you could have said, you know what, I just want my house sold.
What about if you can't even find that?
Oh, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah,
it's
sibling.
Absolutely a problem. And again, where does the money go?
Yeah.
You have to put it with the state.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So that they can hold it until he or she comes back,
that
to say, hey, that's
sister,
mine. Exactly.
Prodigal. Yeah.
I can go into a whole bunch of different examples. Like, for example, if you have a blended family and you have husband and wife, and husband may have children born not to wife. When husband passes away, if you don't have a will, then, if we're talking about a jointly owned home between, with husband and wife, when husband passes away, wife will receive 50% of the home, and then all of the children, even the ones who are not born to the wife, will receive the other 50%. Right, of his interest.
Yeah, that's where those fights come, right?
It gets costly, it gets complicated. It's just not what you want to do.
Because even children who show up, the provincial show up at the funeral who you didn't know about, they are entitled to.
Absolutely.
Legally, right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Each state has its own design for who's going to get what and when, and that's called the law of intestate succession.
Gotcha.
Intestate succession. And so each state is different. So even if you don't have a plan, the state has a plan for you. I know I've said that before, but that is the truth. So that's one of the challenges. If you don't have a plan, the state will have the plan for you, or, your assets can wind up with the state and no one can benefit from it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, that I think hopefully emphasizes to people the importance of having an estate plan. So we've mentioned this before in earlier episodes, and we'll probably mention it again going forward because this part is very important as well. But for those enjoying this amazing and informative podcast for the first time, how often should someone review and update their estate plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. And generally, I would say every 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
Right? That's basically every 3 to 5 years, or after a major event like a marriage or a divorce.
Yeah.
Or let's say you have another child or another grandchild,
right?
Or someone passes away.
Got you.
Right? That it was instrumental in your plan.
Okay, and I think that makes sense. Again, we will keep saying that. We want to emphasize that once you make it, you want to keep it updated. So, all right, Cathe, for someone who's just starting to think about all of this, what's your advice?
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Simply put.
I know that for some people, the thought of creating their estate plan makes them think about death. And when they think about death, that makes them feel frustrated or scared or concerned or angry or a myriad of different feelings, right?
Yep.
And so I say fight through it.
Please.
Fight through it and do it. And what does that look like? That looks like picking up the telephone and calling an attorney to schedule an appointment.
Thank you.
Or picking up the telephone and calling a financial advisor to schedule an appointment. Or maybe it just means we're going to have a house meeting. We're going to have a family meeting, y'all. We're going to sit around and talk about the fact that we don't have a plan and what we all need to do to move forward to make that plan happen.
There you go. We don't want to do like that famous celebrity, write it on these sheets of papers and then
no.
Man, look. Okay.
We all really work way too hard for every 50 cents.
Yeah. Seriously.
And to think about how the money that we've worked for, the assets that we've accumulated, we want them to go to our children and our children's children. We want to leave a legacy and not drama. And in order to do that, you have to do something.
You got to plan for it.
You have to plan for it. You got to get started. So that's what I say. Just do it.
Really, seriously. Because it's about protecting what matters most, right?
It's cool. That's true.
Alrighty, well, Cathe, that was so clear. I want to thank you for making a estate. I hope for everyone making a estate planning feel less intimidating and more actionable.
I hope so. I mean, I hope so, and absolutely. And because estate planning is not just for the wealthy.
No.
Right? I keep hearing that on and on. So I'm trying to, through this podcast, make it clear that everyone, people who have a whole lot of money and people who don't have a whole lot of money,
right.
We all need estate planning. And so I'm trying to make it as clear as possible that it's for everyone who wants to protect their loved ones and their wishes.
Thank
everyone.
You. Thank you. Because if you haven't started yet, let today be the day that you take that first step.
Please.
Even getting your will and powers of attorney in place can make a huge difference.
Huge.
Right.
Huge difference.
Yep.
So, all right, you guys, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're here to help you protect your family, your wealth, and your legacy.
And until next time, take care and plan with purpose.
Your hosts today were Ouida Jones, Illinois licensed realtor with HomeSmart Realty Group of Orland Park. You can reach Ouida at ojones.realtor@gmail.com.
And my friend Cathe Evans-Williams, managing attorney at the Evans-Williams Law Group. You can learn more about her on her website at tewlg.com.
Thanks for joining us on the Wills, Wealth, and Wisdom podcast. We'll see you next
in the next
episode.